So I'm going to show you how to set up these hoop houses, whether you grow in the ground, in containers, in metal raised beds, or wood raised beds. It's going to apply to you no matter how you grow. So this is going to be a very valuable lesson for you. Welcome back to my hoop house series. Today is part 2, and here we are going to be talking about everything you need to do to actually build your hoop houses. So if you missed part 1, that was all about the supplies that you need, where to get them from, and how to buy them. And if you haven't seen that, I will leave it in the link below, so you're definitely going to want to check that out. If you're new here, my name is Bree from Urban Gardening Canada, and I garden in Ottawa Zone 5. So whether you grow in a container, metal raised bed, wood raised bed, or in the ground, this first way of setting up your hoops is exactly the same. And that is literally just jamming your hoops directly into the soil. So this is my preferred way to do it because I don't have to drill any holes. I don't need any special tools beyond cutting my hoops. And this is just the fastest way to build a raised bed. And because if you're in containers, you can just jam it into the soil around the containers. But the thing that you want to do first is put the hoops in before you plant your garden, if possible, because otherwise pushing the hoops into your soil can be very disruptive to the roots of your plants. Now, if you are just doing this for the first time, you want to make sure that you're cutting your hoops to the right length. And I already know right now that this one is too short, but it's just a instruction on how you can do it. So that what you want to do is make sure that your hoop is quite deep in the garden. I would say you want to have at least this much of your hoop. So I would say anywhere from 12 to 18 inches of this PEX pipe you want to have in the garden. So if you have the roll already set up, you're going to have a cut end anyways. And what you're going to do is you're going to jam the cut end all the way into the garden. And you're going to push it in as deep as you can. And now, assuming that this side is the uncut rolled side, you want to pick whatever height that you want to have on your garden. So for example, if I'm matching the height here, and then from here, you want to measure it all the way to the end of your garden. And of course this is cut so it doesn't look quite as good, but if you have the full roll, you're going to have the roll and you're going to stop it at a certain point, the 12 to 18 inches deep of your garden. And that is where you're going to mark it off to cut it. So this way you know exactly how long your pieces are going to be. And this garden is 5 feet by 5 feet and I have 3 hoops in it. So once you get the first measurement, then you're just going to cut 3 hoops to be exactly the same size. And that's how you're going to measure how big of a piece that you need to cut. And you can do this exactly the same for in the ground, in containers, and metal or wood raised beds. It's exactly the same process. Your second option is to secure the hoops on the outside of the garden. I personally, this is only for raised beds. You can do it for containers, but I wouldn't recommend it. So this is more a raised bed option. I personally don't want to do it on my metal raised beds because I don't want to be drilling holes into them. It's such an expensive garden. So the idea of altering it just like bothers me, and you need to have special tools in order to be cutting through the steel, especially depending on how thick your raised bed is. And you're also leaving the option for sharp edges wherever you're drilling the holes. Now it's a lot easier to be doing this on a wood raised bed because drilling through wood is a lot easier. And if you do, you're going to want to buy these pipe clamps. And again, the goal is to buy a pipe clamp that is the same width as the pipe that you have. And so what it does is it just drills into the side of the garden and then it's going to clamp on and hold it in place. And because these are made out of copper, they're very flexible. So I can just squeeze it and now it's already squashed together. And so you can actually squeeze it until it's so tight on the pipe that it's not sliding anywhere. And then you're going to drill that into the side of your garden bed on the outside of your garden. And this is going to hold your hoops in place. So if you have a limited amount of piping and you don't want to use 12 to 18 inches inside of your garden, this might be a better option for you, because you only need to attach it on the first couple inches of height on your garden, and that's where you're going to screw in the pipe clamp. So it's going to save you a couple feet per hoop if you do it this way. So this is a better option if you want your piping to go as long as possible and cover as much ground as possible. So as we go along in this video, if you do find it helpful, make sure to hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below on what you are finding useful in this video. It really helps me and my channel as I continue to grow, and I appreciate any chance you can get to hit that thumbs up button. So one of the problems with doing this in the ground is that pushing a flexible pipe deep into the ground is really difficult to do. So it's not the same as doing it in a raised bed. So in that case, I recommend getting, whether it's rebar or bamboo piping. This one is jammed in here, but you can see that there is a bamboo stick that's inside of here. And so what you're going to do is you're going to find a stick that is thin enough to go inside of this piping, and you're going to hammer it directly into the ground first. So you want to get at least a foot of the stick into the ground and have at least a foot of it outside of the ground. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to slide the piping onto the wood. I'm going to protect my hands, and you're going to slide it in until it's fully in here. And then if you can get a little bit of the piping into the ground further into that stick, then that's going to secure it even further. But this just means that if you can't get the hoop directly into the ground, at least you have the sticks that have been hammered into the ground to help secure them into place. So if you're using shade cloth or insect netting, you don't need to have a cross piece on your garden because they're very light, which means you just want to put a hoop in the ground every 2 to 3 feet. The closer you put them together, the stronger the garden is. One of the benefits of having the cross piece, though, is that without it, the two end hoops can slide back and forth. They can tip forward off your garden or tip inward. And that's where the cross piece on top comes into play and where the T connectors come in. So learning how to use hoop houses, poly, insect netting, shade cloth, frost cloth are such an important skill for a gardener, because it's going to change how you grow your garden and take it to a next level. You can experiment with planting out earlier or later, and you're going to secure your garden from any type of pests that can ruin your plants. And all of these are tips that you'll find in my gardening course that I offer. It's an online self-paced course that has over 100 actionable tips, and that includes these hoop houses. So today's video is a small portion of what you can get in the course in order to take your gardening to the next level. And when we get cold snaps like this that are totally unseasonal, where we're 10 degrees below average, you'll already know what to do because you learned it in my course. There's lectures, videos, and worksheets that you can take with you into the garden, so that way you're actually learning and it's not just theory based. So if you're interested, you can grab that in the link below in the description, and you can even sign up for a free preview where you get a couple of the lectures for free. So I really recommend checking it out. So once you have the hoops in place, you are going to want to cut a straight piece that goes the length from end to end, or if you wanted to, you can connect them using the 4-way, where you have a cross piece on top between each of the hoops. But I've found, at least for this short length of 5 feet, that having one piece was actually the better choice for making it more secure. So then you're going to slide these onto the hoops, and it's actually quite a bit of work to do it, but once they go on the hoops, then you can put your second hoop over here. And we have found that the best option is to actually screw it into place, so that way it doesn't move. And we use these little screws that are just 1/2-inch screws. So these are a number 6 1/2-inch screw, and we just drill through the plastic to secure it, 1 onto the hoop and then 2 into the cross piece over there, and that's going to keep it extra secure. If you're growing in containers, you don't have to worry about this at all. All you're going to do is you're going to crisscross like this, the two hoops into the garden so it creates a dome, and then you're just gonna cover it that way. So it's super easy in a container. Okay, so once you have your hoops in the ground, now you can add the insect netting, shade cloth, or poly. It doesn't really matter. The attachment is all pretty well the same. And that is going to be by using these greenhouse clips. You do have other options. You can buy massive butterfly clips if you wanted to, but this is honestly the easiest option. You can buy these at Lee Valley, but Amazon has them way cheaper, so most of mine have come from Amazon. I've had these for 5 years now, and it's just starting to split, so they've been actually pretty good at handling the outdoor weather. This is going to be your fastest way to secure the poly or any type of covering to your hoops. And then the next issue is how to keep it from flying away. So when it comes to adding poly with shade cloth and insect netting, it's not quite as hard as it is with poly. But the biggest difficulty with poly is figuring out what to do on the end here, because all it takes is a little bit of wind and it's going to blow these up in the air and release all of the warm temperature from your garden out. So you have a couple different options. Here's the wind to prove my point. So when it comes to a wood raised bed, you can use a heavy rock, and you're just going to place it on the edge of your wood raised bed, and it's going to weigh down the end and it's going to keep it in place. The second option is to use a stick. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take the stick and you're going to jam it into place. And so this way your plastic can't pass the stick when the wind comes through. It's just going to hold it in place like that. You can put it in a couple different spots, but the one spot here will do. It's not going to keep it completely wind-proof or without wind getting into it, but it's a really good way, simple, cheap way to keep the end of your bed from blowing up. So I'm not going to put this on fully. This is just as an example on how to do it on a metal raised bed. You have the same options as you do with the wood raised bed, which is using a heavy rock, but it's going to have to sit on the inside of the soil, so you need to have space for this rock. You can use the stick the same way I showed you to, or you have two more options. The first one is if you have solar lights that are magnetic, you can just hold it on the outside of the poly and the magnet is still going to work and it's going to hold the poly in place. This I just found out when I was doing the shade cloth that you guys saw that one night, and this was a great option. And the fourth option, because metal beds are so thin, is to use these butterfly clips. So all you have to do is just pin it on the edge here and it's going to hold it in place, and they're quite strong, so that is not going anywhere. To me, I think that this is such an amazing way to hold them in place, and they're super secure, versus if you use a rock, sometimes the rock just isn't heavy enough and the wind is stronger and the poly comes up. But this butterfly clip is totally going to hold this in place, and it's such an affordable way to hold the edges of your garden. So these four options are not the only way that you can secure the poly to the garden. For example, you can have all of the edges lined with 1x2 wood that you can screw into the side of your garden, and that's going to keep it extra secure. So it's really up to you and what works best for you. These are just four really quick and simple ways that you can keep your poly attached at the edges, especially at the ends of the hoop house, which tend to be the most problematic with keeping the poly down. And that is everything for part 2 of this hoop house build video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't seen part 1, you can check it out here. If part 3 is available, you can find it here. See you in the next video. Bye.